Good morning, friends, and welcome to the 6th episode of SwaMann. At the outset, let me thank all of you to be associated with me and mine and this journey of SwaMann. Today, we are going to talk about grief and loss, how to cope with the grief and loss. Why did I choose this topic? Because as we know, SwaMann is Swachh, Swasth. And Swachh is what? We have to remove all the impurities of our mind in the form of all the emotional disturbances like anger, agitation, anxiety, irritation, sadness, grief. Grief is also one of the emotional disturbances which we need to get rid of. And current scenario of pandemic, all of us have been associated with this emotion. Directly or indirectly, we have been facing this loss. And that's why I thought that this is really an appropriate time to address and talk about how to cope up with grief and loss. So friends, what is grief? Grief is nothing but an emotional and that too very strong emotional reaction to the loss. It's very common and it is very natural. But what kind of loss? Loss is not only death of loved one, but it's a list of all these things, like even the divorce or separation of parents, moving from one town to other town, even for the children when they have to shift to new school, separation from your loved one, a loss of death of a pet, the people who really like to have the pets and when they lose the pet, they go through this grief, or loss or theft of something valuable or special, even heartbreak, breakup of any romantic relationship, loss of job, and last but not the least, loss of sporting competition, especially the national or international titles. When person loses the competition, he or she experiences the grief. So friends, today we are going to focus mainly on the grief which we face in the death of our loved ones. So friends, you may wonder, what is the purpose? Like, okay, this is very common, natural, every one of us go through it and we know what is grief and what happens when we lose someone. This loss happens only in moment, but effect remains for the lifetime. And if we don't understand it properly, or if we don't acknowledge our loss and process it properly, then it may affect the healing process. And that's why it's very important of acknowledging and understanding your grief, which helps to begin the healing process. And it does not leave any kind of a scar behind. So friends, today's main objectives are, we are going to understand what are the different types of grief, what are the stages of grief, and there are certain myths of grief which we are going to address. We're also going to see how we can cope up with the grief. And very important topic is also how to help others to cope up. Because it's not that each and every one of us have lost someone in our life, but there are many nearby us, maybe our friends or neighbors who have lost someone. And in that situation, we don't know how to handle or what to say or how to be of help to them. So first topic, what we're going to talk about is types of grief. See, in psychology, actually, they have listed many different kinds of grief. But today, I'm going to mention only 3 types of griefs here because they are much more relatable in current scenario. The first being delayed grief. And what does delayed grief mean? That for some reason or other, the person is not able to grieve immediately after the death of loved one. For whatever reason, maybe person is busy in arranging the things, or maybe person is busy managing the children, or sometimes the person is not there, maybe staying afar. Like, to just give an example here which has happened, Sachin Tendulkar, when he lost his father, he had to return back to the field because there was a cricket match going on, very important series were going on. So in such situation, when you are not able, you don't get enough time to grieve, the process gets delayed. So that's what is a delayed grief. The second is a prolonged grief. Generally, whenever someone dies, this period commonly is taken it as from 6 months to 1 year's time. In some cases, it can happen till 2 years, but generally, commonly accepted is 6 months to 1 period, a bereavement period as it is called. But in some cases, this whole process gets prolonged. It goes on, beyond the 2 years. And what happens here is person who's not able to move ahead in life. See, the person who has died has gone, but life does not stop with him, right? Life has to go on, it has to move. But the person is unable to do it. Person gets stuck there, or person may suffer from certain psychological illnesses like depression or maybe a psychosis. And that's why it's also called as a complicated grief. The where person has sometimes the hallucination. Okay. See, normally also till 6 months period, it's accepted that one sees when our near and dear one, we see the images or we hear their voices or we feel while we are lying down, the person who has gone is sitting near us. Okay. But if these kind of hallucinations are going on, like either auditory or visual hallucinations, even after the bereavement period, that's what it is called as a prolonged or complicated grief. And in such cases, definitely professional help is very important. And that is why I'm making it a point here. Then last but not the least is a disenfranchised grief. What does this mean? Here, person has a loss. He loses his near and dear one, but not able to show or express the grief outside. To explain it, I mean, we can take an example. Suppose a young lady gets pregnant and she is not ready to carry on with that pregnancy. So she goes and gets it aborted. But she can't even talk to her family member. She does not want to reveal it to them. So in such case, though she has lost the child, but she is unable to grieve. Or sometimes, currently, there are a lot of doctors here in the audience, and I have been seeing many doctors who are coming for the help. They are also going through the grief. Many times we feel doctors are not human beings. They don't feel anything. They are kind of a mechanical person, and for them, death does not affect. But it is not so. I've been seeing so many doctors, they're suffering through anxiety, depression. One doctor, she said that, "Doctor, I feel as if I'm standing in a graveyard. There is just death around, all dead bodies which are surrounded." So they go through a lot of guilt and sadness and pain. But obviously they are not able to express it, because if they start grieving for the people, the whole day will go in that. There are so many deaths happening and they have to continue their duty of treating the patients. So these are the three main types of griefs which are there. But whichever type of grief it is, it goes through 5 stages. Now, it does not mean that each and every person who is grieving will experience all these 5 types. It does happen sometime that person may just experience 2 stages, or person will immediately, experiencing this 3rd stage. Or person who is experiencing the 5th stage, after that also he can return back to the 2nd stage. So there's nothing for particular or fixed pattern as such, but these are the common stages which has been accepted. These 5 stages has been proposed by a Swiss psychiatrist, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She has done a lot of work with the dying patient. With her experience, she has come to conclusion that commonly the people go through these 5 stages. So let's look at it one by one. What are these 5 stages? The first being, person is in denial. The news of death of near and dear one comes like a shock. Person goes numb, not able to accept the death. After that, it passes to the stage of anger. Maybe to some extent, person start accepting. He gets that realization, okay, death has happened. But still, it's not the complete acceptance, and he has a lot of anger. Sometimes anger towards the deceased person, that why person has left so early. But sometimes even this anger is also towards the whole system, or maybe towards the government, or many a times it's towards the doctors. It's a very unfortunate and sad part nowadays in India. We are seeing so many such incidences where the patient's relatives become really violent and they direct their anger towards the doctor, which is actually not called for. That's why it's very important to understand the stages and channelize them properly. After anger comes the bargaining. Person goes to this stage when the anger subsides a little bit and he or she can kind of have a bargaining. That, let me explain this with one example. There was a one child and he lost his father, and he was like, Dad, I will listen to everything, whatever you say, but please come back. God, please return my father back. Something like this, where a person says, maybe you take my life, but send the person back. A bargain. Or can I do something? Maybe if I do this, I'll get my husband or my father or my mother, I'll get them back. So person starts bargaining to find out, in what way one can get the person back. Because there is not complete acceptance of the death of a near and dear. And from bargaining after that, the stage 4 is a depression, where somewhere this feeling or somewhere this reality has sunk in. Person knows that he has lost the loved one. Many a times at this stage, person also go through a guilt. Currently, I have seen some patients, like one recently I have seen patient who had got the COVID. He was staying with his parents. And for his work, he had to travel out of city. And when he came back, after some time, he got the COVID, and then his parents also got. And unfortunately, he lost his father. He and his mother recovered, but he lost the father. So now he's holding a lot of guilt, thinking that it's just because of him he had lost his father. So person goes through the guilt and depression in stage 4. And then comes the last stage of acceptance, where person starts accepting this loss, accepting the death, and start thinking in terms of moving ahead in life. Because life has to move on. Life can't stop for anyone, however close it may be. As they say, the newborn baby, even if he loses his mother at the time of delivery, if lady dies, when that child's life goes on. So that acceptance has to come. This stage of acceptance is very important because it gives somewhere closure to the grieving process. See, this closure is not for the relationship of the grieving person and the deceased person, but this closure is for the grieving process. The person who has gone by, the dead person, the deceased person, his memories are going to be there always with us, but we have to continue living our own life. And that's why this closure is important. But currently, during this pandemic, we have seen so many cases where closure could not happen because they couldn't see the dead body. Many people, it happened, the person went into the hospital and then he never came back. Or sometime it also happened, person has gone to take care of his relatives in some other town because they were infected and the person never came back. So in such cases, their family members go through this difficult process. And that's why it's very important to get the help, whatever way one can help. As a friend, you can help, or as a professional also, you can take the help. There's another doctor, person, J.W. Warden, who has also done a lot of work with the dying people, mainly a lot of children. So he has suggested 4 tasks of mourning. Like we have seen these stages, 5 stages of grieving. But as I said, once that acceptance comes, life has to move on. So how do one move ahead? For that, J.W. Warden has given 4 stages. So first is here, the acceptance of reality. Okay, we have accepted that the loss has happened in life. One has to learn to work through the pain of this grief, move ahead in this, and learn to adjust the life without the deceased person. Whatever the lifestyle earlier was there, or whatever kind of life one has lived, you have to learn to live it without that person and maintain the connection with the deceased while moving ahead in life. It's very important here because there's a lot of misconception. There's one myth where people feel that, doctor, if I'm moving on in life, does that mean I've forgotten my father, or I've forgotten my mother, I've forgotten my spouse, whoever is deceased person? How can I just forget? How can I just move ahead in life? It's not fair. So moving ahead in life does not mean you're forgetting your loved one. They're still there in the memory. But you learn to manage your pain and learn to do your daily routine properly. Now, for these 4 stages, how to go about it? Okay, we have certain rituals. In India, almost each and every religion, they have their different ways. Some have a mourning period of 3, some have for 3 days, or some have for 10 days, or 12 days, 13 days. But everyone has certain mourning rituals, which are there. So for these, all the rituals, this Dr. Kenneth Doka, he has divided these rituals into different categories. The first ritual being the ritual of intensification. What happens whenever there is death in the family, the other people, the neighbor, friends, our relatives, near and dear one, who comes for consoling and helping bereaving family to go through this process. They give kind of a emotional support and moral support to these family members. But friends, in this current situation, because of pandemic, one is not able to do this. We've been separated. Everyone have to maintain that physical distance, and one is not able to go through this intensification process. In such situation, there are other rituals which can act as they can help in healing. The second ritual being the ritual of transition. When person goes, we try to, we have the ritual that persons use things are given to the needy or poor people. Coming to a reality of person's death. So this also can act as a helping factor where, one, we get the chance to grieve, okay, take out all our emotions and pain. And the second way is, we also can look at it as the person is still being helpful to someone who is needy and poor through his or her belongings. So it kind of acts as very healing process here. The third ritual is ritual of continue. One can continue to do the small activities which person was doing along with the deceased person. Something like having, sharing a morning cup of tea, or maybe going for a walk. Continue to do these activities. One also keep remembering the deceased person and let the pain get subsided over a period of time. Very commonly, this ritual of commemorate. It's there in our system, in our religion or in our system, where we put the photographs of the deceased person and we garland it. And every day, we bow down in front of them, because it is also taken it as understood that once the person dies, person becomes kind of an angel. He is somewhere near the God, if we believe in God. So we bow down in front of their photographs and we remember them every day. Last but not the least, ritual of affirmation, or it's also called as ritual of reconciliation. What is it basically? See, many times what happens, people go through certain emotions, either anger or the love or the gratitude towards the deceased person, which they feel they were not able to express it really well when the person was alive. So they can express their guilt or gratitude or anger, whatever it is, in the form of letters. Or one can, if one has that creativeness, they can write the poem or any other kind of activity. But this is just channelizing or expressing all your gratitude, anger. This ritual is especially very helpful in the children. Many a time children are not able to express their pain, their grief. So this can be very helpful. So these are the few rituals which have been mentioned, which are actually common in our society, but it has been also accepted as a therapeutic process. But friends, as I said earlier also, because of this pandemic, because of social distancing, because of fear of catching infection, normal process of mourning has not been happening. We are not being able to help the people who are grieving physically. We are not being able to be near them. So what one can do during this COVID time, how one can cope up with this grief in this period of time? I suggest these few tips with you all. The first being crying. So friend, crying is one way of healing. You have to let it come out of your system. See, because whenever one is emotionally disturbed, what happens is internally when you are stressed because of this uh, loss, because of this stress, your body releases the stress hormone, and which can affect your whole physiological system. So somewhere crying helps you to express your emotional disturbance. So you're not suppressing it, you're not keeping it inside. So whatever harmful effect can be there because of the stress hormone can get released. So crying can be really healing process, and it can be therapeutic. The second is communicating. Talk to the people. Express your pain. Express whatever emotions you're going through it. It can be anger, it can be guilt. Talk to friends, talk to your neighbors, whoever it is. As they say, whenever you share your pain, if you share your happiness, it kind of multiplies. But when you share your pain, it gets lessened. It lessens your pain. So feel free, whoever you want to talk to. It's not necessarily that you have to keep talking to each and everyone, but whoever is your close people, you can communicate to them. And let all your emotions, all your feelings come out and talk to the people. Now, sometimes this is also difficult during this COVID time. In such time, this another tip is connect. Connect with the people. Somewhere this has been a kind of a blessings that we have, the internet connection, the technology has been really helpful. So today we have lot many virtual platforms. So through those platforms, or you can make a phone call to the people, do video call, connect on the Zoom, but keep in touch with your family members, your relatives, talk to them. And friends, very important point here, I would say, is taking care of yourself, the personal care. I know loss and this grief can be really, this loss and grief can be very painful. But whatever said and done, life has to go on, and we have to take care of ourselves. So see to it that you get the enough sleep. If it's not possible to sleep on yourself, take the professional help you can with the doctor's advice and prescription. You can take some medicine, but have adequate sleep, adequate and peaceful sleep. Eat healthily. Eat nutritious, healthy food. Again, here, one may feel that, okay, you don't feel like eating, you feel loss of appetite, but you have to feed. Even if you eat small amount, it's okay, but keep eating. Keep yourself dehydrated. Drink lot of water. Learn to manage your stress through different activities. Whatever may be your hobby or something. Listen to music, or do some kind of a relaxing activity. You can do some relaxation, yoga, meditation, whatever, but learn to manage your stress. And also do exercise, regular exercise. Again, that also releases endorphins in our brains, and which kind of make you feel good hormones, as they are called. So it's very important. See, the deceased person has gone, and see, otherwise, normally what happens is we have our near and dear ones. We have the family, friends who are there. They're staying with us at least for some time. So even if we don't feel like cooking or we don't feel like eating, they cook for us, they help us, they feed us. But during this pandemic, there are so many people, they are left alone and people cannot come to them. So in such case, it becomes very important to take your own care. It becomes your own responsibility to take good care of yourself. While taking care of yourself, obviously, you need to carry on with your routine. As I've repeatedly said, life has to move on. Life cannot stop with anyone's going or anyone's death. So you have to carry on your routine. It may sound very overwhelming and very difficult, but what one can do is break down whatever is your activity in very small pieces and learn to take it up. Take one step at a time. Take one bite. Small steps, baby steps. And believe me, you will be able to move ahead. slowly and steadily, but you need to put in the effort into it. You have to start taking this initiative and start getting on your routine, because somewhere it will also act as a kind of a distraction, no? And it helps you to cope up with the grief. The more you sit all by yourself and just keep thinking of your loved one, you will be going through more and more sadness and depression. So it's better to keep yourself occupied in your own routine. 6C is charge and control. What does this mean? This means taking charge of your life. In what way? Especially, the financial or other administrative work or something which is there. See, it happens very commonly many times that husband dies and wife does not have much idea about his finances or his paperwork, what has been happening. Or currently there are many children whose both parents have passed away. Such children they have left. So maybe they can take help of near dear ones, the family, the friends. And if you know someone, you can go ahead and help such people to take charge and control of whatever finances. See, sometimes it can feel, you may feel, oh, we have lost our loved one, which is like irreparable loss. Nothing can be done. And what one is talking about money. Yes, friends, we cannot bring back our loved one, but our life has to go on. And money is very important part of it. So it's very important to know about it. Take charge of your life, get control of it, and move on. And last but not the least, in spite of all this, whatever tips I have shared, many times it becomes very difficult to cope up with the grief. So have the consultation, the professional consultation. Do not hesitate, because if you don't take the timely help, depression can become chronic. So take the consultation help. All the mental health professionals, they can help you and they can guide you to cope with your grief and loss in a little better way. So friends, remember these 7 C's to cope up with the grief and loss. Cry, communicate with your friends and your family members or relatives. Connect with them on virtual platform, even if you're not able to connect physically. Do not forget to take good care of yourself, good personal care. Carry on with your routine and take charge and control of your life, of the finances. And last but not the least is, in case if you find it's too much for you to handle on your own, take the consultation, the professional consultation. So remember these 7 C's, which will definitely be helpful for you to cope up in such challenging time. And as I said, friend, not necessarily that each and every one of us have gone through it directly. We may not have lost someone of our own, in our own family. But we know many people in our neighborhood, maybe our friends, maybe our relatives who have lost someone. And we really don't know, because it's so shocking and current situation as such that every now and then we are hearing that today someone has died, the next day someone has died. There are so many deaths happening. And we feel at loss. How do we help? We have a strong desire to help these people. We want to be there with them, but many times we don't know what exactly we are supposed to do. So in such situation, my advice would be to just remember A, B, C. The first is allow them. Allow them to cry. Allow them to talk. Allow them to be their own self. Don't say that, okay, don't cry so much. Some people can't stand tears, and then they say like, okay, why you're crying? Or they may feel there are some misconception. They say, okay, every time if you keep crying, there is an atmosphere in the house becomes really sad. So don't talk something like this. Let them cry. Crying is a therapeutic. Obviously, one has to take care of their personal, the food and sleep and rest, everything they have to do it properly. But whenever they feel like crying, or if they feel like talking, listen to them. Just be there with them. Sometimes it's possible that they are not ready to talk. They don't want to talk. So you don't have to just keep forcing them that, okay, just say something, just say something. Just be there. It's perfectly fine. Even your presence can be really very helpful. It can be very supportive in such trying times. And C is checking on them. It's also for the compassion. You need to show them that compassion. But checking on them, why is it important? See what happens whenever there is a death. For some time, everyone is there around. They talk to them, maybe for say 2 weeks or 4 weeks time. Everyone is knowing and trying to contact and trying to help the people, the bereaving family. But after that, everyone gets busy with their own routine business. And people are left alone. That's why in such time, it's very important to check on them regularly, whether they are taking good care of them or not, whether they are in any need. As I said, they have to take care of their finances, or maybe there are other, physical work, something, they may need some help into that. Or they may not be taking good care of, they may be going through the depression or anxiety. So in such cases, you have to check on them and try to be helpful as much, whatever help you can give it to them, or maybe you can advise them to take the professional. So friends, remember this ABC. Allow them to cry, be with them, and check on them. Friends, every one of us want to be doing something. We want to take away that pain of people who are around us, who have been going through this grief. But we cannot actually take away the pain. We can be helpful, we can be there with them, but we cannot take away that pain from them. See, every one of us, we need to remember, it's our individual pain. We have to go through it. Okay. There will be people around who really want to help us and they will be doing it, but the pain is individual. Everyone have to go through their own pain. No one can save us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. It's individual journey. But friends, with this quote, I don't want to sound very hopeless. There's definitely a hope. I know it's very difficult time. It's very difficult to go through this pain. But there is definitely a way out. Before closing my session, I would like to share one story of Gautam Buddha. Once, Gautam Buddha had come in one town along with his disciple. In that town, there was one lady. She was widow and had a son of some 8-10-year-old who also died. And that was really a big shock for that lady because her only child also had died and she was completely alone. When she comes to know about Gautam Buddha's presence in the village, she just rushes to him with dead body of her son. And she requests and pleads Gautam Buddha that you are such a great person. You have lot many powers. So please, please make my son alive. Give him life. Gautam Buddha knows that that's not the possible, right? But it's very difficult. I mean, how can he say anything to that lady who is in such a big shock and so much of a pain of losing her son? So what Gautam Buddha says to that lady, that okay, I will bring your son back, provided you get handful of rice for me. That lady says, oh, I'll just go to my home and get the rice. Gautam Buddha says there is one condition, that you have to get the rice from such house, uncooked rice, raw rice, from such house where there has not been any single death in the family. She says, okay. She just rushes and goes and she keeps going to, she goes from door to door asking for a handful of rice. And everywhere the condition is only one. She says, okay, there should be any death in your family. And friends, as you know, obviously there is not a single house where there was not any death. And that's why that lady comes back with empty hand. But while coming back, she comes to this realization that death is inevitable. Everyone has to face death of near and dear ones, sometime or other in their life. So when she reaches to Gautam Buddha, he explains her the reality of this death. Mind you, friends, getting this knowledge is not going to reduce her loss. She has lost her child, definitely. Her grief is too much. But this knowledge gives her courage, some anchoring to hold on, so that she can cope up with her loss and her grief. I would like to end my session with this shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano, na hanyate hanyamani sharire. What does this mean? The soul is never born, never dies. Once it comes into being, it never ceases to be. Unborn, eternal, abiding, and primeval. It does not perish when the body is slain. So friends, remember, I know the person who has gone, we cannot bring him or her back. But that person is always there with us. You may not believe in Atma, but you can believe that they are there with us in the form of their memories, in the form of their love. So with this idea, with this thought in mind, that they are somewhere with us, they are around us, lead your life in a healthy way. Thank you.
If you like this video, drop thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And do subscribe to my channel for more such content.